Hi, my name is Matthew, and today we're going to be talking about ketamine's chiral conundrum and why your dealer might be bullshitting you. Alright, so for some background, I have over 10 years of experience as a harm reductionist and drug educator. I've been in multiple roles as a drug education and drug knowledge consultant, writer, and scientific fact checker. I have a Bachelor's of Science in Population Health and extensive formal education in chemistry. I also manufacture drug checking reagents at massive scale, and I'm currently preparing to go to med school. And so a lot of my life's work revolves around researching illicit drugs, how they're made, sold, misrepresented, and tested, which is right in line with what I'm talking about today. So what are we talking about? Ketamine is a drug that is chiral. Now, chiral means that if you look at this little red dot that I have on either of these molecules, that's called a chiral carbon, and what it means is that it's essentially a carbon where the groups around it are all different, and it can have varying sort of configurations as far as like how things are attached to that carbon atom. And so because of ketamine's structure, you have this chiral carbon. That means you have a left-handed and right-handed version of the molecule, or enantiomers is what they're called. So this gives you two possible types of ketamine. Now, different enantiomers, whether it be an R or an S isomer, can have different pharmacological effects and produce different effects if they're isolated and taken by themselves. Now, you may have heard the term racemic. This means it's a 50-50 mixture of the two enantiomers, which is by and far the most common way that you'll tend to find ketamine, and I'll get into that more in a bit. So the myth here is that different enantiomers of ketamine are readily available on the illicit market. You might have heard things like, bro, this is S-ketamine, or like, no, this is the R isomer, it's like way cleaner, it's like better, dude. Or like, R-ketamine psychedelic and S-ketamine is dissociative. It's bullshit. It's almost always deceptive marketing, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. So where does all of this come from? It has a lot to do with drug patent laws. Now, Janssen Pharmaceuticals produce something called Spravato, which y'all may be familiar with. It's a nasal spray indicated for the use of treatment, or indicated in the treatment of treatment-resistant depression. And so S-ketamine is only the S isomer of ketamine. And the reason why it was chosen to be in this antidepressant drug is because, like amphetamine, ketamine has been around for a very long time. So it's in the public domain. You can't patent ketamine. And so what these pharmaceutical companies have to do is go and say, hey, look, I've taken one isomer of ketamine, I've put it into this super proprietary nasal spray in this specific dose, and this is the new drug product I am introducing to the market. The same thing was done with Adderall, where you couldn't have just generic 50-50 racemic amphetamine and sell it for the treatment of ADHD or obesity or what have you. And so what Richwood Pharmaceuticals, later Shire Pharmaceuticals, did was basically create a unique formulation of the R and S, or dextro and levo, I got that backwards, levo and dextro isomers of amphetamine, and formulated them into a new product known as Adderall. This allowed them to patent it and then profit off of it because they have a special proprietary sort of new pharmaceutical product. Now, there's some discussion about R and S isomers within the illicit market because it provides a convenient explanation when there's perceived differences between batches or suppliers. There's a lot of factors here to consider. There's potency, there's like the potential for analogs or adulteration, or just like someone's mood, setting, what have you. And it's being advertised this way because having a special product, much like with the pharmaceutical companies, having a special product sets illicit sellers apart from the competition. Now, again, this is mostly comes down to marketing, right? The only reason why S-ketamine is used for the treatment of depression, or why they got approval for it, is because it was able to be patented. There's not a huge difference between S-ketamine or racemic ketamine in the treatment of depression. Furthermore, while there might be some differences in subjective effects, the costs don't make sense. It doesn't make sense for there to be R or S-ketamine in their pure form on the illicit market, because whether it's diverted or not, S-ketamine is only really available in that specific like nasal spray, and nobody's like buying a bunch of these nasal sprays and cooking it out and diverting it from the legal market. And in order to produce either R or S ketamine in their pure form, you have to utilize something called an enantioselective synthesis, which is where you ensure that the outcome of the reaction, of the chemical reaction to produce the compound, is going to only yield one enantiomer over the other. Or there's an enantiomeric resolution, where you take a racemic mixture and go through a very, very often painstaking process of separating out the specific enantiomers that are present. It just doesn't make sense. It's not happening. And anyone who tells you it is, or that they have something special, is probably lying. To that end, you can prove me wrong. This is what a polarimeter is. Different enantiomers of a chiral compound will bend light in a different way. And so what you could do is you could load a sample of a drug, whether it be S or R or racemic, into a polarimeter, and it will bend light in a specific way, and it will tell you what enantiomer you have, or what ratio of enantiomers you have, depending on how it bends light. You can buy one of these for the low cost of $1,300 and get an illicit sample and test it. I would bet a lot of money that you're not going to find anything other than racemic ketamine on the illicit market. Just doesn't make sense cost-wise. The only reason anyone's doing it is because of patent laws and pharmaceutical companies' overwhelming desire to have something unique on the product, on the market. Excuse me. But yeah, that's it. Yeah, don't believe people when they tell you they have R or S ketamine, because they're lying.